Welcome to the very first special episode edition of Expedition Theme Park. Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Florida began on October 25th, 1991. Known originally as Fright Nights, this 3-night special event contained one haunted house called the Dungeon of Terror. The event has grown throughout the years and has been held at Universal Orlando ever since. In 1992, the event was renamed from Universal's Fright Nights to Universal's Halloween Horror Night, and officially advertised as the second annual Halloween Horror Nights, with two houses, the Dungeon of Terror returning to the Jaws queue line, and People Under the Stairs making its debut in Downstage 23. The second year of the event ran for 5 nights and was the very first year of Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure.
I'm Ted, and I'm Bill, and we're Bill and Ted!
While throughout the years the houses would change, the amount of houses increased over the years, popularity of the event increased, parks were changed, icons came and went, and some years didn't come at all, and with more and more nights added to the event, one show remained a consistent staple of the event until its farewell tour at Halloween Horror Nights 27 in 2017.
Oh, it's like most excellent!
Located at Halloween Horror Nights 2 in 1992, a new show was added to the special event, running just 5 nights. Many other shows came and went during the lifetime of Halloween Horror Nights, but only one persisted. Located in the Wild West stage, the Bill and Ted show emphasized parody and satire and a good time over the scares found in other parts of the park.
The show you're about to watch is a joke. It's not real. We should all be able to come together and make fun of pop culture from the past year without losing our damn minds.
Based on the recently released Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989, as well as Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey released in 1991, the very first show followed the duo played by 2 different sets of actors.
Toby, what's your last name?
Toby Miller and Joel Bunn. Hello, San Dimas! Hello, everybody. How you doing? Be excellent to each other.
Each performing 2 shows per night, trying to capture the energy of Bill and Ted. The very first show was set in the old western town and began with a gunfight between a sheriff and a robber. Interrupted by the phone booth, Bill and Ted were heading back in time to go trick-or-treating again. The robber then decided to hijack the phone booth and round up a new bank robbing gang from the future. After he disappears, Bill reveals he has a portable phone which Rufus gave him to call back the booth. After he dials the number, they are surprised when instead of the booth, the DeLorean arrives with Doc Brown. Doc Brown tells the duo they need to bring back the robber, but first they decide to test it out on famous musicians to see if it's even possible. When they do succeed in returning the booth back, the robber is joined by Freddy Krueger, the Terminator, and Jason. A chase occurs over the town and the sheriff succeeds in stopping the bank robbers. To celebrate the victory, Bill and Ted hold a most excellent concert with the musicians Madonna, MC Hammer, Blues Brothers, and Elvis. This format would set up the show for the next 26 years. Special merchandise was created showing Bill and Ted with the Universal monsters and more for the event, and the show received a huge following right from its start. The original 4 actors playing Bill and Ted embraced the roles and were huge fans of the movies and claimed to have seen it multiple times in preparation for the role.
Yeah, we've watched it about 550,000 times.
The Bill and Ted show remained at the Wild West Theatre, returning each year of Horror Nights following. The show carried the same format, adding more and more pop culture references each year. 1996 characters include the returning Terminator, James Bond, Mulder and Scully, Boba Fett, and more, and ended with Kiss singing Rock and Roll All Night. Many characters will return multiple times throughout the show's history, including Mulder and Scully and the DeLorean again in 1998. In 1999, J. Michael Roddy took over as the show director and writer for the show. After co-directing in years previous, he stated that this year he would try and change the show by setting it as Bill and Ted's Shagadelic Halloween Adventure, and now adding musical numbers throughout the show rather than just at the end. The Bill and Ted actors at the time were Doug McDonald and Kevin Vincent. They brought a lot of truth to the roles, and were relied upon to keep the integrity of the characters Bill and Ted. In 1999, the show was rated the highest ever for Universal Entertainment offerings at the time. Michael Roddy was asked following the show in 1999 if anyone thought the characters were too old, and he replied that he thought the characters were timeless. The show continued on in 2000 with many characters from pop culture from the previous year. Steve Irwin, Ethan Hunt, Scooby-Doo, Mr. Burns, and many more, with Eminem and NSYNC rounding out the final. In 2001, the show returned for its final year, held at the Wild West stunt show set in Universal Studios. The same format continued with a mix of the year's pop culture characters, ending with a game of the weakest link, and Bill and Ted winning by answering the question, what number am I thinking of?
69, dudes!
2002 was the 12th year of Halloween Horror Nights, and the first year the event was to take place at Islands of Adventure. Held in the Toon Lagoon Amphitheatre for the first time, the show opened with a recap of the past shows to Van Halen's song Panama. The main villain for the year was again Dr. Evil, and included characters from Scooby-Doo, Star Wars, Spider-Man, the Powerpuff Girls, and Gandalf the Grey, who was played by Mike Aiello. 2002 marks the first year of the show for Mike Aiello, who would become a huge part of not just Bill and Ted, but the whole Horror Nights event. After performing in the show in 2002 and assisting with writing, he eventually went on to be writer and director of the show from 2006 to 2010. 2003 consisted of a group effort to write the show. Bill and Ted at the time were played by Aaron Bailey and Scott Stenzel. When asked in 2003 if Mike Aiello saw a long future for Bill and Ted at Universal, he responded saying, "I think William and Theodore have a few more adventures left in them." The show would continue in Islands of Adventure Toon Lagoon Theatre with a similar format, with returning characters Dr. Evil and in 2005 a Willy Wonka storyline up until the year 2006. At Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16, the duo would return to the Wild West Theatre, now rethemed to the Fear Factor Live Theatre, with the event returning to Universal's original Studios Park. 2006's show remains one of the most celebrated shows of the whole run, with many people claiming it to be the best year of Bill and Ted. The villain for the show was Lex Luthor.
Hello, boys! Dr. Evil! Again! Wrong! Oh, Howie Mantel! We love Deal or No Deal! No, you fools! I'm Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mastermind in the world today!
He claims to have brought the land Universal sits on and is going to destroy it to build a theme park in his name. The final run of the show has been known to play up the improv and change parts completely. The final show in 2006 did in fact see Dr. Evil take over as the villain of the show to much fan love.
Hello, boys! Dr. Evil! Again! Wrong! No, you fools, I'm Lex Luthor. Actually, Mr. Luthor. The juveniles are quite correct. Dr. Evil! Again! Yeah. You didn't even have a popular movie this year.
In the 2017 final show, it was referenced that Dr. Evil had been asleep behind the stage since 2006. The show will remain at its original stage until the end of its run in 2017. In 2007, Universal became tougher in cracking down on videotaping and photos during the show. The 2007 show included another Dr. Evil tease, with his music playing only to reveal Britney Spears with her head shaven. The show would stick to a similar format for the rest of its run. Mike Aiello's last year of the show was 2010, when he moved on to other roles with the company, though he would still be involved with the Bill and Ted show until the end of its run. Eventually, Jason Horn would take over it and finish out the director role for the show, with Mike Aiello moving into a mentor role similar to how Michael Roddy was for him all those years ago. For the next years, the show continued to be a staple of Halloween Horror Nights and to parody the year's pop culture. While many actors played the roles of Bill and Ted, two stand out as taking the role and really making it their own.
Santa getting its most righteous trick-or-treating. Looks like some people gave out more than candy this year, dude. Check it out, a bottle of Old Spice. Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to us. Sadly, he isn't us. Look down, look up, we're on a stage. Excellent.
I'm Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
And I am Ted Theodore Logan. And together we are Wild Stallions.
Jason Perry and PJ played the roles for multiple years and became fan favourites as the characters. They even did an exclusive interview for annual pass holders, which can be seen in the link below. They played the characters right up until the very final show. Many iconic recurring jokes would occur over these years, and the fan base would reach a cult following.
I'm king of the world! And by world, I mean Avatar World, coming to a theme park near you in the year 2085, if anyone still gives a shit.
Now, unfortunately, we have to talk about the end. 2017, as expected by everybody, the show was announced to return as usual, but the news came with their tagline, The Farewell Tour. People initially were confused. Was this the end? Was it the story for the year?
What happened? Ted? We're dead, dude.
A shock to the Horror Nights fan base, but also the creators of the show. The show was rewritten 2 weeks before the first showing to include an ending worthy of sending off these iconic characters. Mike Aiello stated that Jason Horn had written the perfect goodbye. Easter eggs were added to include the tiniest details, including Death using the exact same phone which was used at the very first ever show of Bill and Ted. Emotions ran high each time a fan watched the show, as everyone knew the end was coming. Why was the end coming? Nobody knows the official reason, but speculation included that the Fear Factor Live Stadium was going to be demolished, the show caused issues for Universal due to the content, or that Bill and Ted 3 was coming and they did not want the show to conflict with that. But whatever the real reason, many fans were left sad. One thing was for sure, Horror Nights would never be the same again.
Disney based an entire Halloween show on a movie that's almost 25 years old. Yeah, that's so stupid. Yeah, let's talk.
The success of the show, reinventing itself each year and running for a huge 26 years, is unheard of, not just for any show, but especially a theme park show. As the final show approached, fans started queuing up for wristbands as early as 8 AM for the final guest show, and the final show did not disappoint. Fan favourite characters returned, the cast added their own touch to performances, giving each character a standing ovation. Doc Brown returned for one final time, and to end it off, the cast all came out for the final dance number dressed in Bill and Ted outfits. The show went on for nearly an hour for this final showing, and the fans still did not want the show to end. The only thing left was for Bill and Ted to exit one last time in the phone booth with Rufus, leaving the fans emotional and craving more. Will there be a reunion tour? We can only hope. Has any other show in theme park history achieved what this show has over 26 years? The fan base, the community of cast and crew, a staple of Horror Nights? No, and it's unlikely that anything else ever will. Horror Nights will never be the same again. 26 years, the cast and crew poured everything they had into making the show special, and the memory of what they have achieved will never be forgotten by theme park fans around the world. The show will be greatly missed, but as Def said,
all of this will seem like a dream, but one you were lucky enough to have.
Bill, my friend. Yes, Ted, my friend. This has been a most excellent adventure.